I always thought my neighborhood was the kind of place where you could leave a package on your porch for hours without worrying. But everything changed the day my deliveries started disappearing one by one. At first, I blamed the usual things: wrong address, courier mistake, maybe even a curious raccoon. But then I noticed something strange. Every time a package went missing, the same neighbor from down the street would suddenly appear, pretending she just happened to be passing by. You know the type: clipboard, HOA badge swinging, and eyes that could scan your porch faster than any security system. People in the community quietly called her the HOA Karen. I hadn't paid much attention to her until she started paying a lot of attention to me. The weird part wasn't just that packages were disappearing. It was how she acted whenever I stepped outside. Like she was inspecting my home, looking for something to complain about, always asking intrusive questions about what I ordered. She wasn't just nosy. She was watching. Every day, every delivery, every move. That's when I decided to install a small hidden camera on my porch. Not out of anger, but out of curiosity. And what I saw confirmed everything. She wasn't just stealing random boxes. She was targeting mine. My name, my address, my porch. She wasn't doing it for money or items. It felt personal, like some strange HOA power trip. The tension grew. I couldn't confront her without proof, and I didn't want this to turn into a neighborhood war. So I did the only thing that made sense. I prepared a package she would never forget. Something harmless, something completely legal, but something she would absolutely not expect. Something that would finally answer the question that had been haunting me. Why me? The next morning, I placed the box on the porch, stepped back inside, and waited. Minutes passed, then shadows, then movement. She was back. Slow, careful, almost excited. She reached for the box like it belonged to her, like she had every right in the world to take what wasn't hers. But just as her fingers touched the lid, she paused. She looked around, and then she whispered something under her breath. Something so unsettling that I still replay it in my head. And that's when everything took a turn I never saw coming. When she whispered those words, I couldn't make them out completely, but the tone, cold, almost trembling, stuck with me. It wasn't the voice of someone casually stealing a package. It sounded like someone who believed she deserved whatever was inside. And that's what scared me, because nothing about this situation had ever felt random. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to know what the last few months were like. Before the disappearing deliveries, things in the neighborhood had already been tense. The HOA had been cracking down on the smallest things: paint shades, lawn height, even the color of holiday lights. And at the center of all those warnings was always the same signature. Hers, the HOA Karen. Her real name was Patricia, but almost nobody called her that. She walked the streets like she owned them, always carrying a list of violations, always ready to knock on doors with a smile that never reached her eyes. I kept my distance. I didn't want trouble. I worked long hours, ordered most of my things online, and minded my own business. But maybe that was the problem. People like her don't like being ignored. And the more I stayed quiet, the more she seemed to notice me. My porch, my packages, my routines. She'd linger in front of my house just a moment too long. She'd comment on my online orders like she was keeping inventory. "Another box?" she'd say, forcing a laugh. "You must really like deliveries." I brushed it off at first, but then came the incident that changed everything. A package containing something personal, something sentimental that belonged to my late father, vanished. I contacted the delivery service. They confirmed it was handed directly to someone at my address. My stomach dropped. Someone had signed for it. Someone who wasn't me. I remember sitting on the porch that evening, staring at the empty spot where the box should have been, feeling a strange mix of frustration and disbelief. Who steals something without even knowing what's inside? Why target me? And why did her name keep flashing in the back of my mind every time I tried to reason it out? That's when I knew I needed proof. Real proof. The camera wasn't just for catching a thief. It was for understanding what she wanted from me. And now, watching her reach for the special package I'd left for her, her whisper replayed in my head. Because it didn't sound like guilt. It sounded like recognition. I replayed the footage over and over, slowing it down frame by frame, searching for something. Anything that would explain that whisper. Her expression wasn't the look of someone caught in the act. It was something far stranger. She hesitated, as if the box triggered a memory she wasn't prepared to face. And that hesitation planted a new question in my mind. Was she stealing my packages? Or was she looking for something specific inside them? That thought gnawed at me the rest of the night. The next morning, an unexpected complication made things worse. A notice slipped under my door. An HOA violation, citing suspicious activity around my property. The irony stung so hard I almost laughed. She was the one sneaking onto my porch in the middle of the night, yet somehow I was the one under investigation. It felt like she was tightening a noose around me, using the HOA as her shield. But here's the part that really unsettled me. The notice didn't have her usual signature. Instead, it was signed by someone new on the board. Someone I had never interacted with. Someone I didn't even know existed. Suddenly, it wasn't just about her. Something larger was happening behind the scenes. As I pieced things together, another subplot quietly unfolded. My neighbor across the street, Mr. Jensen, an older man who rarely talked to anyone, approached me that afternoon with a strange apology. He shifted nervously, glancing over his shoulder like someone might be listening. "I should have told you earlier," he whispered. "She's been asking about you. For months." He didn't elaborate before hurrying back inside, leaving me with a chill that sank deep. Why would she be asking about me? Why months before the package thefts even started? That night, I finally admitted something to myself. I wasn't just dealing with a petty thief. I was tangled in something bigger, something I had accidentally walked into without knowing. And as bizarre as it sounded, the way she looked at me earlier, fear mixed with recognition, felt like a warning. But I wasn't perfect either. A small voice inside me whispered that maybe I'd pushed this too far by setting up that special package. Maybe I wanted revenge more than answers. And now that the HOA had turned their focus on me, I wondered if I'd crossed a line I couldn't step back from. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't acting alone, and that whatever she was looking for wasn't inside the packages at all. It was somehow connected to me. A truth I hadn't discovered yet. A truth someone didn't want me to know. The next 48 hours tightened around me like a knot. Every time I stepped outside, I felt eyes on me. The new HOA notices kept coming. First about unapproved surveillance equipment, then about unreported disturbances. None of it made sense. None of it felt accidental. Someone wanted me cornered. But the real shift happened when I checked the porch camera again. She returned. Not to steal. Not to complain. She just stood there, frozen, staring at the spot where the special package had been. Her breathing quick, uneven. Her hands trembling like she was fighting the urge to knock on my door. And then she whispered it again. That same word. That same tone. Like she was begging someone not to see her. But this time, she looked directly into the camera. My stomach dropped. She knew. She knew I was watching. And instead of panicking or running away, she stepped closer, almost pressing her face toward the lens. Her eyes looked different, haunted, almost pleading. She mouthed something more, but the audio didn't catch it. Her lips formed shapes I couldn't decipher, yet they carried a sense of urgency that made the hair on my neck stand up. Whatever she wanted, it wasn't the package anymore. It was me. Later that night, things spiraled again. Someone knocked on my door, soft, cautious, almost scared. I expected her. But when I opened it, it was the new HOA board member. The one who'd signed the recent notices. He looked nervous, sweaty. His gaze kept darting across the street. "We need to talk," he whispered. "But not here." My pulse jumped. "About what?" He swallowed hard. "About Patricia, and why she's been targeting you." I opened the door wider, inviting him in, but he shook his head violently. "No. She can't see this." Before I could ask anything else, he slipped a folded piece of paper into my hand and hurried away, almost running. The paper felt warm from his grip. I unfolded it slowly. Inside was a short message. "Asterisk, you're in danger." Not from her. From what she's trying to protect you from. Asterisk, my throat tightened. Protect me? The woman stealing my packages was protecting me? Nothing was adding up. I rushed back to the computer, rewinding the footage of her whispering into the camera. Frame by frame, zoomed in, enhanced. Her lips moved slowly, clearly forming two distinct words. Two words that turned my confusion into fear. Just before the feed cut off, she mouthed, asterisk, they're back. Asterisk, and I had no idea who they were. But I had the sinking feeling I was about to find out. For the rest of the night, those two words circled my mind like an echo I couldn't shut off. They're back. Back from where? Back for what? And why would she, of all people, be the one warning me? I needed answers. Fast. The next morning, I stepped outside cautiously, scanning the quiet street. Everything looked normal, too normal. Her house blinds were closed.
No hoa patrol.
No new notices. A strange, heavy stillness hung in the air. Then my phone buzzed. An alert from the porch camera. Movement detected. But when I opened the feed, my chest tightened. It wasn't her this time. It was the new HOA board member, the same man who slipped me the warning note. He was pacing on my porch, looking terrified, checking over his shoulder like someone was following him. He tried knocking, gentle at first, then harder. But I never heard the knock, because I wasn't home. And that's when the twist hit me. He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to the camera. Please, he whispered, leaning closer to the lens. If you're watching this, you need to know. Patricia isn't your enemy. She's trying to stop the board from... The feed cut out. Static. Glitches. Then black. I refreshed it again and again. Nothing. Something had jammed the camera. Heart pounding, I rushed back home. When I reached the porch, the board member was gone. But there was a new envelope taped to my door. Same shaky handwriting. Same fear pressed into each stroke. But this time, the message hit like a punch. Asterisk, don't trust anyone. Not even me. Asterisk, I stood frozen, staring at the words. Betrayal twisted into warning. Warning twisted into confusion. If I couldn't trust him, who did he mean by they? And why was Patricia risking everything? Her reputation, the HOA, her position, just to keep me from finding out. Before I could piece anything together, my phone buzzed again. Another notification, but not from the camera. It was from an unknown number. Just 3 words. She lied to you. I felt the ground shift beneath me. She lied? About what? About the packages? About the danger? About me? Then a second message appeared instantly, as if someone was watching my reaction in real time. Check the package she kept. My stomach dropped. The package she took, the first one. The one that mattered most. The one tied to my father. If the truth was inside that box, then everything Patricia whispered, every warning, every theft, every fear, was only the beginning. The moment I read that message, something inside me snapped into place. The first package, the one that disappeared before any of this started, had never been random. It was the only delivery that carried any emotional weight. It held the last thing my father ever left for me. And now someone was telling me to check it. Like it still existed. Like it had never truly been stolen. I went straight to Patricia's house. Not with anger, with dread. Her porch lights flickered as I approached, and for a second, I thought she wouldn't answer. But then the door cracked open. Her face appeared. Tired, shaken. Nothing like the strict, sharp HOA enforcer I'd always seen. She stepped outside, closing the door behind her like she was hiding something. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. Where's the package? I asked. Her eyes softened. Inside. But you need to understand. No, I said. I need the truth. For a moment, she just looked at me. Then she exhaled slowly and motioned for me to follow her around the side of the house. She didn't take me inside. Instead, she opened a small outdoor storage cabinet I never knew she had. And there it was, my father's package, still sealed. She held it out with both hands. I took it because they were looking for it, she said. Your father. He asked me to keep it safe. The world tilted. My father knew you? She nodded. Years ago, before you moved here, he trusted me. He told me you would come one day, and that the HOA board wouldn't let you keep what was inside. Every suspicion suddenly felt too small compared to this. My chest tightened as I opened the box right there under the dim porch light. Inside was a simple notebook, my father's handwriting on the first page. But what stopped me cold was the item tucked underneath. A list of names. HOA board members. Old and new. Including Patricia. Including the man who'd warned me. And one name circled in red, the new board member who replaced him. Patricia stepped back as I stared at the page, realization hitting me full force. They're not watching you because of me, she whispered. They're watching you because of him. He's the one your father was trying to expose. The final twist landed like thunder. This entire time, the danger wasn't the HOA Karen stealing packages. It was the new board member using her reputation as cover, while searching for the very evidence my father died protecting. And as the pieces clicked together, something buzzed in my pocket. A final message from that unknown number. You opened it. Now he's coming. And suddenly, the night wasn't still anymore. The moment I read that final message, something changed inside me. Fear wasn't the same anymore. It wasn't the panic I felt when my packages first disappeared. It was something sharper, clearer. A sense of purpose my father must have hoped I'd find someday. Patricia saw the shift in my expression and stepped closer. He won't stop now that you've opened the box, she said softly. But you're not alone. Your father, he trusted the right people before he left. For the first time since moving into this neighborhood, I believed her. We walked back toward my porch under the cold glow of the streetlights, and she explained everything in fragments. How my father once challenged the corruption in the HOA years ago. How he'd collected proof that a select few had been misusing funds and threatening anyone who questioned them. How he'd hidden the evidence in a package meant for me, knowing they would never suspect something so personal. But the new board member, he knew enough to be dangerous. He'd been watching, waiting, and using the HOA's rules like weapons, pushing Patricia aside, fabricating violations, isolating me. Not because he cared about guidelines, but because he needed that box destroyed before I ever saw it. Except Patricia got to it first. Your father saved me once, she admitted quietly. I owed him this. It struck me then how mistaken I'd been. I saw her as an enemy because it was easier than facing the truth. Easier than believing the danger came from someone who never raised his voice, someone who smiled while writing threats on official paper. By the time I reached my door, the police were already on their way. Patricia had made the call, using her position not to control the neighborhood, but to protect it. Later that night, after statements and flashing lights and officers quietly escorting the new board member away for questioning, I finally sat alone with my father's notebook. His handwriting felt like a voice reaching across years to steady me. The last page held just one sentence. Asterisk, when you don't know who to trust, trust the truth. Asterisk, and that truth was messy, painful, but real. As the sun began to rise over the neighborhood, everything felt different. Safer somehow. Cleaner. The kind of place my father hoped I'd build a life in. So here's the takeaway, the one I hope someone listening really needs today. Sometimes the person you think is against you is the one standing between you and a storm you can't see. And sometimes the real threat hides behind a friendly smile and a clipboard. If you ever feel watched, targeted, or pushed into silence, don't ignore it. Look deeper. Ask questions. Trust your instincts. And if this story made you think, even for a moment, hit like, share it, and stick around for the next one. Because the truth, there's always another layer waiting to be uncovered.